let's move on to specifically discuss the three kind of deficits that are usually in discussion, that are usually calculated and talked about. Okay. So talking about the first form of deficit, we are going to discuss is revenue deficit. As the name suggests, we can define it as well. When government revenue budget, or revenue receipts rather, okay, receipts, only receipts component I'm talking, exceed, no. When government revenue expenditure exceeds revenue deficit, it is called revenue deficit. Plain and simple, not much to go in detail, but we are getting it. We'll identify the problems with having such a deficit. Revenue deficit, if we write the formula, is equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Okay. Now, if a particular country is having a high revenue deficit, and occurrence of a high revenue deficit is a sign that government is not able to meet its consumption requirements. Like government officers, government staff, interest payments, all these things are a part of revenue budget. So in its sense, government is using them as their service. Okay, so government is not able to meet their consumption needs in a better manner. So the idea is, if you watch out, government is going to collect revenue receipts, fines, penalty, fines, taxes, all those kinds of components go into revenue receipts. Government is not collecting enough, whereas government has to spend a lot of money on the salaries, on running government machinery, maintaining their offices, paying their staffs. Those things are not being maintained. Okay. And the other consequence of having a revenue deficit is, now this particular budget is mostly about maintenance cost, maintenance budget. So if you are having a high deficit here, that means it can reduce the essential capital expenditure. Capital expenditure, you all know, bridges, highways, schools, okay? All kind of expenditure go into that, which are very much essential for an economy. Or welfare expenditure, okay? Capital expenditure ka we can just quickly pitch in the, when we say capital expenditure, schools, highways, hospitals, okay? Or welfare expenditure ka we can say, like when government is subsidizing poor people, okay, giving subsidies to poor people, or grants, scholarships to students of backward communities or economically weaker sections. So those areas, it can create difficulties, okay, of the government. So do not have a high revenue deficit. It can create burden in those areas. Right? So I think the revenue deficit is very much clear with this concept. Let us highlight the formula. This is revenue deficit, revenue expenditure, revenue receipts.